My mother is the nanny for the wealthiest family. She deliberately took labor-inducing medication just to give birth at the same time as the mistress of the wealthiest family. After giving birth, she mustered her last bit of strength to insist that I must swap my younger brother with the baby from the wealthiest family. I nodded and agreed, but I only wiped away the red mark she had left on my brother and placed him back in his original spot after my mother woke up. She was first delighted to see the child's fair wrist, then disgustedly threw him aside. From now on, my son will inherit the wealth of the richest family, and my good days are just around the corner. I sneered inwardly, thinking, you're mistaken about that. My younger brother was crying beside her, but my mother didn't even give him a glance. She hummed a cheerful tune and, for the first time ever, handed me a crumpled 5 yuan bill. You did well. Go buy yourself an ice cream. I took the bill and headed out. Passing by the VIP room, the wife of the wealthiest man in town was holding her child with a serene expression, a stark contrast to my mother. In my previous life, my mother had also asked me to swap my brother with the Lin family's young master. I don't dare. She scolds me for being useless as soon as she wakes up, hitting and kicking me every day. My younger brother was spoiled by her and grew up indulging in drinking, gambling, and womanizing. When the debt collectors came to our house, they directly took me to settle the debt. My mother angrily told my brother, if it weren't for your sister's incompetence, you would have been the yen master of a billionaire long ago. My brother firmly believed that after I paid off my debts, he would directly stab me to death and dismember my body. Unexpectedly, when I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the moment my mother was giving birth. This time, I pretended to have switched my brother, thus avoiding my mother's beating. Harming others ultimately harms oneself. I refused to aid and abet wrongdoing. After buying ice cream from outside, my mother was no longer in the ward, leaving only my younger brother crying his heart out. When I left earlier, his cries were still clear and sharp, but now they had become hoarse and strained. It was obvious at a glance that my mother hadn't bothered to comfort him at all. Not long after, I heard laughter and conversation from outside. When I went out, I found my mother holding Mrs. Lin's child, smiling from ear to ear. This child is so well behaved, smiling at me when we meet, unlike my own sickly monkey who cried from the moment he was born. Mrs. Lin gently advised, all children cry, you just need to be more attentive. My mother hummed without looking up, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Yes, I must be even more attentive to you and the young master from now on. After learning that Mrs. Lin was expecting a boy, my mother spent a fortune to confirm the gender of the baby in her womb. She even took harmful labor-inducing drugs just to give birth on the same day as Mrs. Lin. Now her mind is filled with grand dreams of becoming the birth mother of the Lin family's heir in the future, completely disregarding her brother's life or death. I lowered my head to look at my hands and feet. The pain of being dismembered in my past life seemed not to have faded yet, so I obediently ate my ice cream on the side. Not mentioning my brother, who was on the verge of crying himself to death. It wasn't until the nurse came over holding my brother, saying he had caught a chill from not being covered properly, developed a low-grade fever, and cried so much that his voice was hoarse, that my mother spared him a glance. Cry, 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 all you know is crying. My mother, furious and flustered, pinched my brother's arm hard with her sharp nails. The baby's tender arm immediately turned blue and purple. Mrs. Lin couldn't bear to watch any longer. She picked up my brother and comforted him for a moment, and only then did he stop crying. Now my mother was even more pleased, her eyes nearly curving into slits as she looked at Mrs. Lin. Madam, you see, this child is so fond of you. He may not have a wealthy fate, but he certainly has a wealthy temperament. He must dislike the rough fabric of my clothes scratching him. It was hard to believe these words came from a mother about her newborn son. Mrs. Lin was utterly shocked and immediately paid my mother 3 months' wages on the spot. Take good care of yourself during your postpartum recovery, and look after your child well. You can come back to work in a while. My mother, having received the money, beamed with a smile as bright as a blooming chrysanthemum. She nodded in agreement, but her tone carried a hint of cunning. Yes, I will definitely take good care of him, too. As soon as Mrs. Lin left with young Master Lin, my mother unhesitatingly threw my younger brother to me, because my mother often liked to go days without letting me eat. I was stunted in growth, skinny and bony, and simply couldn't hold him steady. My mother only cared about ordering various health supplements online for herself, and didn't even bother when I dropped my brother on the ground. After returning home, she looked at the crumpled baby and poked his face with displeasure, saying, "From now on, you'll be called Yu-chan." As she spoke, She repeated it a few more times herself, laughing hysterically. She had always harbored resentment toward the wealthy, and now, thinking she had given the young master of a rich family such a foolish name, she was overjoyed. When she picked up her phone again, my mother immediately put away her sarcastic demeanor and quickly started typing on her phone. Lin Qingyao is such a beautiful name, truly worthy of being chosen by a master. My child has a dull personality, so let him stay foolish. In these 3 months, my brother not only had no diapers, but also drank unregulated formula milk. My mother found him too noisy and even stuffed a sock in his mouth to keep him from crying out loud. With his recurring low-grade fever and intense crying, she locked both my brother and me outside the door. In my previous life, however, it was because my brother disliked me that I would be locked outside alone late at night. The neighbor saw my brother and me outside the door and knocked to advise my mother. They're both your own children, how can you just ignore them like this? And I can see that the boy looks so much like you in the eyes and brows, you should really cherish him. Seeing my mother lost in thought, alarm bells immediately went off in my mind. If she finds out I didn't switch my brother, my mother turned around and looked at me with confusion, my palms sweating nervously from the tension. But to my surprise, my mother just slammed the door shut with a sharp tone. Are you crazy? How could that bitch possibly be like me? I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. My mother was already completely lost in her beautiful dream. In my previous life at home, I was always the most humble one, while my brother had everything he wanted and could do as he pleased. Although there was no favoritism towards my brother in this life, I wasn't treated much better either. The one who got beaten went from just me to 2 of us. She would always point at my head and say, "You useless girl, can't even do such a small thing right, what good are you?" She even planned to marry me off to an old bachelor as soon as I came of age. So she wouldn't have raised me for nothing, so I silently made up my mind that I must break away from this family and not let my life be forever frozen at the age of 25 like in my previous life. When Lin Qingyao learned to call mom and dad, my mother spent half of her savings to have a pure gold piece lock made at a jewelry store and sent it over. I then reminded her, "If my brother grows up and finds out how biased you are, he's sure to make a fuss." My mother sneered. "He's just a lowly brat, it's already more than enough kindness that I haven't starved him to death." Looking at my mother's crazed expression, I almost couldn't hold back a laugh. Treating someone else's child as worthless, I really hope she can be this composed when she learns the real truth. 3. My mother never comes to pick up my brother and me, and my father is away on a business trip, so I took my brother and went to the Lin family's house. My mother was holding Lin Qingyao and playing with him. When she saw us, she was clearly displeased. "Why did you come here?" I could only look at her timidly. "I didn't bring the house key." Just as she was about to hit me, Lin Qingyao stepped forward and took my hand. Lin Qingyao truly lived up to being a child raised in love. He was fair and chubby, very likable, and gave me a sweet smile. And my younger brother, hiding behind me, showed no signs of physical development that would suggest he was already 6 years old. Over the years, Yuchen often lacked adequate food and clothing. My mother wouldn't let him eat much, and his clothes were made from my old ones. When he waited for me outside the classroom, he was always pointed at by groups of students. "The clothes are so tattered, and even the shoes have a hole in them. Does he have no parents?" Yuchen was trembling all over, carefully squatting down, hugging himself, burying his head and sobbing. Exactly the same situation as in my previous life. Madame Lin initially suggested having Yuchen accompany Lin Qingyao in his studies, but my mother firmly shook her head. How could that little bastard of mine attend a private, elite kindergarten? It would just be a waste. Seeing my mother's resolute attitude, Mrs. Lin had no choice but to drop the matter. My mother stopped her intention to hit me, and just then, Mrs. Lin came downstairs. This was the first time Mrs. Lin had seen Yuchen and me again after so long, and even with her refined upbringing, she couldn't help but exclaim, "Do they even look like human beings anymore?" Before I could even speak, my mother couldn't wait to interject. "These 2 kids are born with a lowly fate. They're destined to never succeed in the future. Just leave him be." Yuchen's pent-up grievances all erupted at once, crying so hard he could barely speak. "Are you even my mother? Do you know what my classmates are saying about me?" My mother showed clear signs of panic at that moment, then glanced at Mrs. Lin's expression and, without hesitation, slapped the already frail Yuchen to the ground. Yuchen's right cheek immediately swelled up, and his nose started bleeding. "Then don't call me mom from now on. I don't have such an ignorant child." After that, she completely changed into a different person, gently leading Lin Qingyao away. "Come on. Auntie made something delicious for you." It was still Mrs. Lin who found someone to apply medicine to Yuchen, standing by. I only felt sorrowful and even more frightened afterward. If I really swapped Lin Qingyao over, he would be suffering an undeserved calamity. Yuchen covered her face, her eyes darkening as she asked me with a hint of morbidity, "Sister, what kind of child do you think mom really likes? Why don't any of us seem to please her?" I used to ponder this question too. But in my efforts to win my parents' favor, I often stayed up late memorizing textbooks, improving with each exam, only to have my test papers end up as padding under the table leg. Yet with just a casual remark from him, my mother could make me go hungry for 3 days and 3 nights. Bad people have their own bad people to deal with, and I don't want to be a saint either, so I calmly said to him, imitating what he had told me in my past life, just bear with it. What if she starts liking you someday? For, during dinner, Mrs. Lin asked me and Yu Chen to join them at the table, but my mother stopped it, so I had to wait with Yu Chen until they finished eating. Yu Chen looked toward the dining table, where our mothers were carefully taking care of another child. His gaze is just like how I used to look at him. Seeing Yu Chen staring eagerly, Lin, the richest man, insisted that we all sit at the table together. My mother smiled ingratiatingly. But her words were venomous. If they both eat, most of these dishes will be contaminated with bacteria and become unclean. I paid no attention, just kept reviewing the knowledge I had learned today in my mind. I need to have the ability to break free from this family. The rich never understand the poor. They don't know why my mother is so malicious, simply attributing the reason to a lack of money. However, the salary they pay my mother is not low. She either spends that money on herself or buys various high-end toys for Lin Qingyao, never spending it on us. Lin, the wealthiest man, nodded to the people beside him, and they brought out a pile of toys and a pure gold piece lock. These are all things you send over, and I know you like Qingyao, but the salary I give you, you should spend it on your own child. He looked meaningfully at the two of us. Both Yu Chen and I were clearly not as developed as children our age. Being overly thin and weak, my mother was clearly angry but didn't say anything, just insisted that the richest man must accept the gifts. At that moment, Lin Qingyao finished his meal, muttering about how bored he was, but my mother suddenly got excited. Yu Chen, hurry up and bark like a dog, just like you usually do at home, to amuse the young master. Yuing, don't just stand there either, go fetch a dog bowl. Every child has their own sense of pride in front of their peers. He kept his head down and didn't speak. I also felt my mother was being a bit too much, and just as I was about to speak, my mother kicked Yu Chen to the ground. I've raised you this big, and you can't even bark like a dog. After saying that, she glanced at Mrs. Lin's expression. The more Mrs. Lin couldn't bear it, the more she enjoyed hitting him. I tugged on Mrs. Lin's sleeve and secretly slipped her a note. Mrs. Lin and the richest man tried to persuade her, but my mother wouldn't listen, seeming to thoroughly enjoy the pleasure of beating Yu Chen in front of them. It wasn't until Lin Qingyao cried, "How terrifying, why is there so much blood, stop hitting him," that my mother finally stopped. I saw Yu Chen lower his head. Where in the world is there no true empathy right now, at this moment? He understood that all his efforts to please could not compare to a single casual remark from another child. I overheard the maids whispering, "Are these two children not hers at all? Even a tiger doesn't eat its own cubs. How could she? I really don't look like my parents, but if you look closely at Yu Chen, you can actually see the resemblance to my mom and dad." But my mother never looked at him closely. My mother broke into a cold sweat upon hearing the maids whispering, "What are you servants gossiping about? How could the child I gave birth to not look like me?" After saying that, my mom turned and stared at Yu Chen. At that moment, she froze, her pupils dilated, as if she could see that Yu Chen was connected to her by flesh and blood. I dug my nails into my palm, my heart pounding. She wouldn't have found out, would she? But then she immediately slapped Yu Chen and said, "Don't get in my way." After that, she picked up Lin Qingyao. After returning from the villa, my mom was fired. She even went on a rampage, violently beating both me and Yu Chen. "It's all your fault that I lost my job." Yu Chen felt it was an undeserved disaster and ran out on her own, while I just let her hit me, because I was the one who did it. I told Mrs. Lin that my mom has a violent temper and hits me and Yu Chen at home every day, and I even got her contact information from Mrs. Lin. My mother was doing quite well pretending in the Lin family, but she couldn't help herself. She couldn't resist abusing her child in front of a mother. I secretly recorded a video of my mother violently beating me with my phone and sent it to Mrs. Lin after she returned to her room. Mrs. Lin immediately expressed sympathy for me and asked me to see her tomorrow, saying she wanted to fund my education. I also said that I would pay them back the money in the future. Actually, today I did it on purpose. I deliberately brought Yu Chen to the Lin family, because I saw my mom's chat history with someone else. She wanted me to work illegally right after graduating from elementary school. I know Mrs. Lin is kind-hearted, so I deliberately let her see the ugly side of my mother. Only in this way can I gain sympathy, so that I can have money to continue my studies and change my life. 5. When Yu Chen came back and saw me covered in injuries, the fear in his eyes couldn't be hidden. "Sister, why didn't you fight back? Resistance, if resistance were useful." I wouldn't have been dismembered by you in my previous life, I sneered inwardly, but on the surface, I put on the appearance of a filial daughter. She is our mother, as her children, isn't it our duty to respect her? Unexpectedly, Yu Chen leaned close to my ear and asked in confusion, do you think it's possible that we aren't her biological children? I feigned surprise. Why would you think that? It must have been something he saw outside, Yu Chen whispered to me. I heard that a few years ago, children often went missing in our city. Could it be that we were bought by her? As he said this, his eyes were filled with a hopeful light, but in the next second, I extinguished the flame in his eyes. I said, little brother, I was with Mom at the hospital when you were born. How could you possibly have been bought by her? After her nap, my mom saw Yu Chen had returned. Her anger hadn't subsided, so she gave him another severe beating, this time. Yu Chen didn't resist. When he looked up again, I saw the intense hatred hidden in his eyes. Early the next morning, just as Yu Chen and I were about to leave for school, my mom stopped us. I don't have a job right now, and you still want to go to school? Go out and work, all of you. I looked at her with a pitiful expression. Mom, if we go out now, we can only work illegally, and the pay is very low. I have a scholarship for school, so I won't spend any of the family's money. And when I make money in the future, I will definitely come back to take care of you. My mother's expression began to soften, and I delivered the final blow. If I get into the provincial key high school, I'll still be close to the Lin family's mansion. When you come to pick me up, finally, she condescendingly opened the door and let me out. Yu Chen wanted to follow me out, but he was pushed back and bumped into the corner of the table. I turned around and could only see a pool of blood on the ground, and then the back door was closed. Along with the sound of the door closing came Yu Chen's scream. When I came home from school, I saw Yu Chen locked outside the door. When he saw me, he couldn't help but cry out, why didn't you take me with you today? You're no different from that old woman, selfish and self-centered, selfish and self-centered. He's so ruthless now that he even scolds himself, I explained gently. In that situation today, even if I had taken you with me, we would have both ended up getting beaten up. As I spoke, I also took out the candy I didn't like that was given out at school today and handed it to him, offering help in times of need. I was the only one in the family who cared about him. With such a contrast, his resentment toward his mother must have grown even deeper. I promised to find a tutor for Yu Chen and insisted that my mother send him to class, but after so many wasted days, how could his grades possibly be made up? So he began to hate school and started hanging out with troublemakers. Meanwhile, I seized every minute and second to study, and often took on part-time jobs on weekends as my mother requested. During these part-time jobs, I intentionally or unintentionally inquired about missing children cases and gained some leads. 6. By the time the high school entrance exams ended, I had actually been admitted to a provincial key high school. While Yu Chen skipped classes every day and had already been expelled from middle school, my mother forbade Yu Chen from continuing his studies and didn't care whether he was hanging out with troublemakers day and night. In fact, the more Yu Chen deteriorated, the happier she became. She also constantly stalked Mrs. Lin's social media, just to keep up with Lin Qingyao's updates. Look at how promising Qingyao is. Truly worthy of being raised in the Lin family, the wealthiest in town. My mother's face was about to split from smiling when she saw Lin Qingyo win the championship in the math Olympiad at the dinner table. Meanwhile, Yu Chen had dyed his hair bright yellow and got a lip piercing. Looking like a rebellious youth, he raised an eyebrow and said in a flippant tone, "Those who know, I'm your son. Those who don't would think Lin Qingyo is your son." He spoke casually, but my mother was so shocked that she dropped her chopsticks on the floor. "What nonsense are you talking? It's all because you're so useless. You can't learn anything. You're just a good-for-nothing." As she spoke, my mother picked up the feather duster nearby. "If I don't beat you to death today, I'll write my name backwards." When Yu Chen was still young, he would sometimes have the illusion that his mother might suddenly have a change of heart, and he wouldn't fight back. But now, Yu Chen directly kicked my mother to the ground. My mother's face turned as purple as liver, and she pointed at Yu Chen in disbelief. "You dare to kick me? You've grown some nerve," Yu Chen sneered. "One moment you say I'm useless, the next you say I've grown some nerve. Which one of your words should I actually listen to?" At that moment, my mother seemed to regret having indulged Yu Chen to the point where he dared to stand up to her. Just as she was about to say something, Yu Chen slammed the door shut and walked out. My mother was so angry that her whole body was trembling, and soon her gaze focused on me. "You wretched girl, why didn't you come to help me just now?" Just as the feather duster was about to land on me, I looked up at her and spoke softly. "Mom, Mrs. Lin wants me to be a tutor at the Lin family. If I get injured, I might not be able to go." After saying that, I stood up, and due to inertia, my mother fell heavily to the ground. But she didn't dare to hit me, so she could only fume in anger. Watching her look of frustration, I almost couldn't hold back a laugh. Over the weekend, I went to the Lin family's house, and my mother insisted on coming along, but she was stopped by the security guard at the gate. The madam said that no one except the teacher is allowed to enter. I had anticipated that my mother would follow, so I had already informed Mrs. Lin in advance. After all, Mrs. Lin had not forgotten the scene of my mother beating me and Yu Chen back in the day. Upon entering the Lin household, I didn't expect that the student I was tutoring would increase from just Lin Qingyao to two. Mrs. Lin smiled slightly and explained to me, "This is the daughter of my friend. They had some matters to attend to, so they left her with me. I was just watching Lin Qingyao do his homework, explaining English which he wasn't very good at. Having one more or one less student didn't really make a difference to me." After the tutoring session, the little girl asked for my contact information. "Sister, you explain things much better than the previous teachers. Can I ask my parents to hire you?" I thought about it. I need money. I need to move out of that house, so I nodded and gave the little girl my phone number. As soon as I stepped out the door, my mother grabbed my hand and asked anxiously, "How is Xiaoyao's studies going now? Is there any way you can get me back to work as a nanny? If you can get me back, I promise I won't stop you from doing anything in the future." 7. My mother's sharp nails dug into my hand, and I frowned, trying to break free from her grip, but she held me firmly. "I remember you wanted to live on campus. If you can help me get into the Lin family, I'll sign the form for you when we get back." Living on campus would allow me to focus more on my studies, but at home, I would have to take on all the household chores. After a moment of silence, I nodded in agreement, "But they already have enough nannies. You might not even get to see the young Master Lin if you go in." My mother snorted coldly. "No need for a lowly wretch like you to worry about that." After returning home, I sent a message to Mrs. Lin, truthfully telling her about the threats my mother had made to me. In the end, I suggested to her that we find a new job for my mother. When my mother found out, she was so overjoyed that she couldn't close her mouth, and she quickly signed the application for me to stay on campus. Looking at her elated expression, I truly hoped she would still be able to smile tomorrow after learning about her job responsibilities. Yu Chen didn't come back today, and my mother didn't pay any attention, lost in the joy of going to the Lin family tomorrow. She didn't even notice that the bank card she took out to look at every day from her bedside table was missing. I saw Yu Chen take the bank card, and it was also me who inadvertently mentioned to him that my mother liked to use her birthday as the password. I suppose he must be somewhere else now, putting on a show of wealth and enjoying himself. After I got the application form, I immediately went back to my room to pack my things. Though there wasn't much to pack, I only had a few pieces of clothing, 2 pairs of shoes, and nothing else. The next day, my mother started her new job, and I went to the little girl's house for tutoring. During class, Momo's parents never showed up. I asked and found out that she said her parents are often busy outside, so usually it's just her and the servants at home. "Sister, I feel a sense of closeness when I see you. Could you come and spend more time with me?" After saying that, she handed me a paper bag filled with money. I don't have a bank card, and I don't want my mom to help me get one. If she were to handle it, I'd basically be working for free, so I always have Mrs. Lin give me cash. I took the money and patted her head. After making sure she finished her homework, she went over to Lin Qingyao to show off her progress. Suddenly, she burst into laughter, startling me as I was memorizing vocabulary nearby. Momo ran over to me, holding her phone up high to show me. After I took it, I realized the person in the video was my mom. She was being chased all over by a big yellow dog, and after falling to the ground, the dog licked off her carefully applied makeup with its tongue, leaving her in an extremely awkward state. This is her new job, helping the Lin family walk their dog. This dog was bought by Lin Qingyao because he made progress in his exams, and he absolutely adores it. However, large dogs are full of energy, and Mrs. Lin doesn't have the strength to take it out for walks every day. Since both Yu Chen and I are not at home, she just happens to have the energy with nowhere to use it. I happily curled the corner of my mouth and returned the phone to Momo. I've already gathered enough money, and I'm getting closer and closer to the truth. 8. On Monday, I moved to the school, and my mother discovered there was no money in her bank card when she went to get the rabies vaccine. She went to the bank to check, and all the money had been spent on places like KTV. I've been either at home or tutoring these past 2 days, always under her watchful eye. This was the first time she had ever taken the initiative to call Yu Chen and ask for his location. However, the other end kept hanging up on her, which infuriated her so much that she kept throwing things around the house. That card contained most of her life savings, but now there isn't a single penny left in it. She came to the school to find me, dragged me out harshly, and demanded, "Where's the money from your tutoring?" Hand it all over to me. Since we had already coordinated our stories, I looked at her with confidence, spreading my hands. "Mrs. Lin only recharged my meal card. I don't have a single cent on me. If I had money, I would definitely have bought a couple of pieces of laundry." Looking at my thin coat, my mother pinched me hard. "Even if you have money in the future, you're not allowed to buy clothes. I'm your mother, and all your money should be used to honor me." I smiled slightly and nodded obediently. "Of course, I will definitely honor my mother, but you're not my mother at all, so why should I honor you?" I added in my mind. This morning, I took a sick leave and went to the hospital alone, bringing the money I had scraped together in her hair to do a paternity test. The report showed that I am not Wang Chuanxia's biological child. Because I had already had a premonition, I didn't feel any joy. No wonder she could often lock me up for days, not caring whether I lived or died. No wonder she could help cover up when I was dismembered by Yu Chen, even squeezing out the last bit of my value. I used to naively think she just didn't like me, so I desperately tried to please her, only to end up without a whole body. I clenched my fists tightly, controlling my emotions. In this life, I must repay her for all these years of upbringing. Since I'm about to enter my senior year of high school, I quit my tutoring job. Mrs. Lin, however, told me to focus on my exams and gave me a large sum of money. Momo also had her parents rent an apartment for me outside the school, making it more convenient for me to burn the midnight oil. Yu Chen came to the school looking for me, but I managed to avoid him every time he came to find me. He was always followed by a group of troublemakers. It was obvious he was running out of money again. Today, I also unexpectedly received a call from Wang Chuanxia. On the phone, she cried her heart out, saying that Yu Chen had stolen and sold the family's TV and washing machine. I spoke coldly. "Why don't you call the police? I can't control him either." And so, Yu Chen was sent to a juvenile detention center. Wang Chuanxia enjoys inflicting her pain on others. The thought of the richest man's son being in a juvenile detention center made her dress up and go to the Lin family's house to walk the dog every day, but every time I was chased by dogs and ended up in a sorry state. Soon, the college entrance exams were over, and Yu Chen was also released. Because I did very well on the exams, I even received a scholarship from the school, so that day, I invited Wang Chuanxia and her family to dinner, but her husband was working overtime, so only she and Yu Chen came. Wang Chuanxia said smugly, "Now that you've gone to a good university, your salary must be quite high. From now on, you must hand over all your wages to me, or I'll go to your workplace and call you an ungrateful wretch." Yu Chen spat at Wang Chuanxia. "You only gave birth but never raised me, yet you still want to enjoy the benefits. My sister will naturally support me, not you, you old witch." Truly a mother and son cut from the same cloth, both equally selfish and self-serving. I specifically ordered a bottle of fine wine. Seeing how sensible I was, Wang Chuanxia wore a satisfied smile on her face and drank glass after glass. Soon, I was completely unconscious. Then, I whispered the name Lin Qingya repeatedly in her ear. She jolted upright and exclaimed, "My son will definitely have a bright future." Yu Chen's alcohol tolerance had been honed over time, and he was still sober at that moment. Hearing this, he widened his eyes in disbelief. Then, Wang Chuanxia's next sentence made Yu Chen instantly explode. "My son is now with the Lin family. How could my life be bad in the future?" 9. It seemed as though the confusion of all these years had finally found an answer. Yu Chen glared at Wang Chuanxia with fiery eyes. "What are you saying?" Wang Chuanxia had already lost consciousness by this time, and I pretended to be drunk and passed out as well. I squinted my eyes and watched Yu Chen unlock Wang Chuanxia's phone with her fingerprint, then showed an expression that said, "I knew it." Apart from her own selfies, Wang Chuanxia's phone was filled with photos of Lin Qingyao. If Yu Chen didn't believe that Wang Chuanxia had taken a liking to Lin Qingyao, then there was only one other possibility he could think of, that is, Lin Qingyao is actually Wang Chuanxia's child, so he is. Yu Chen's hands trembled with excitement, and the redness on his face didn't look like drunkenness but rather anger. He slapped Wang Chuanxia twice, one on each side. "Damn it, so it was your son who stole my life of wealth. When I get back, I'll make sure my parents kill your whole family." After hitting her, Yu Chen stormed off angrily, while Wang Chuanxia, heavily drunk, wasn't even awakened by the blows. I had Wang Chuanxia's husband take her back home. Her husband still didn't know what had happened, and over the years, I hadn't had much communication with him either. He glanced at me, his eyes showing no emotion. "Aren't you going back today?" Thinking of the stories the elderly had told me, I suddenly spoke up. "Dad, Yu Chen just stormed out after being angered by Mom. Look, Mom still has 2 big red marks on her face. He is often not at home, and Wang Chuanxia didn't tell him the truth about swapping the children. You two are also not easy to handle. If you were a bit more sensible, Your mother wouldn't treat you like this, I answered off topic. Just now, Yu Chen suspected that we aren't our parents' biological children and left in a rage. He instinctively frowned. Yu Chen came out of your mother's womb, and you know that. Why didn't you try to persuade him just now? What good would it do you if something happened to your brother? Not a word about me, yet exploiting me at every turn. I understood then that the couple who had escaped after trafficking children must have been them. What about me, Dad? I got into university, but I didn't see you particularly happy about it. He was clearly guilty, a flicker of unnatural embarrassment crossing his face. Then he transferred 200 yuan to me via WeChat. I smiled slightly. I have plans with classmates today, so I won't be going back. And from now on, there's no need to go back either. I watched them slowly walk away. Then gathered all the evidence I had collected, packaged it into a file, and sent it out. In the evening, I received a call from Yu Chen. Do you know that I am not Wang Chuanxia's son? You were with her when she gave birth. Did she switch me with Lin Qingyao? He pressed me urgently, hoping I would have a crisis of conscience and testify for him. I still spoke calmly. How could that be? You are Mom's own son. Don't let your imagination run wild. Not getting the answer he wanted. Yu Chen snorted coldly. You're still helping that woman deceive me. Just wait, tomorrow you and that woman will both go to hell. Perhaps I was used to being threatened by him in my past life, so I wasn't scared at all. I even laughed and said, oh, then I'll be looking forward to it. 10. The next day, Wang Chuanxia was woken up by a phone call from Mrs. Lin. Wang Chuanxia called me, her voice both urgent and fierce. Did you say something wrong to Yu Chen? Why did he go to the Lin family today to claim kinship? Get back here right now. When I leisurely arrived at the Lin family, Wang Chuanxia was rolling on the ground, throwing a tantrum. When did I ever say my son was the yen master of the Lin family? Don't talk nonsense. Okay. After rolling up his sleeves, revealing all the scars, he sneered and questioned, if I were your biological son, would you treat me like this? You didn't care when I dropped out of school? And you didn't care when I went out to mess around. Are you really my mother? Wang Chuanxia cried her heart out to Mrs. Lin, don't listen to his nonsense, he's just too unruly, and he resents me because I discipline him. Mrs. Lin frowned and looked at Yu Chen. I won't believe it without evidence. Yu Chen forcefully opened Wang Chuanxia's phone and showed Mrs. Lin the photos of Lin Qingyao that Wang Chuanxia had saved. If I remember correctly, she even gave Lin Qingyao a gold lock. But she never gave me anything, as Mrs. Lin pondered. Wang Chuanxia's face grew increasingly pale. Madam, I just thought the yen master looked auspicious. Yu Chen kicked Wang Chuanxia. You wretched woman, why don't you just die? You stole my life. Lin Qingyao stood by, bewildered and at a loss, while Momo stood beside him, holding his hand. Seeing that I had arrived, Yu Chen looked at me, and Wang Chuanxia stared at me intently. The two of them spoke in unison. You tell us. Why not just do a paternity test? Momo suggested softly. Seeing that I was being bullied by the two of them, Wang Chuanxia said with a panicked expression, no. Yu Chen pulled Lin Qingyao. Come with me. The scene was chaotic for a moment, and in the end, Wang Chuanxia was taken to the hospital. After all, Yu Chen had come to make a scene early in the morning, and if this matter wasn't clarified, it would also affect the Lin family's reputation, because I had to give Momo a lesson today. She held on to me and wouldn't let go. So we all went to the hospital together. During the examination, Wang Chuanxia was extremely reluctant, which made Yu Chen even more convinced that she must have been swapped. Mrs. Lin took a deep breath and waited for the final result. When the report came out, Wang Chuanxia was about to reach out and grab it, but Yu Chen pushed her away in an instant. Wang Chuanxia immediately fell to the ground. After seeing the report, Yu Chen was trembling all over. It was unclear whether it was shock or disbelief at the results above. Lin Qingyao had been nervous earlier when he saw Yu Chen so confident, but now, seeing Yu Chen's hands trembling, he thought Yu Chen was overjoyed. Unexpectedly, Yu Chen directly grabbed the medicine bottle nearby and smashed it toward Wang Chuanxia's head. Before anyone could stop it, Wang Chuanxia immediately covered her head and screamed in pain. Everyone immediately thought that Yu Chen had found out she had been replaced and was venting her anger. Wang Chuanxia also thought the truth had been exposed, so she picked up a shard from the ground and stabbed it toward Yu Chen. If you die, I don't believe Mrs. Lin would abandon the son she raised for so many years. As she spoke, Wang Chuanxia and Yu Chen began to wrestle. After a scream, Yu Chen was stabbed in a major artery, and Wang Chuanxia's head swelled up like a pig's head. Mrs. Lin picked up the report. Doesn't this show that you two are mother and son, and Qingyao is my son? What? Wang Chuanxia rushed over, and upon seeing the report, she froze in place. Then she shouted loudly, save my son, someone, please save my son. Yu Chen was pushed into the intensive care unit, and Wang Chuanxia glared at me fiercely, saying, it's you didn't switch it, you've ruined us. Looking at the news on my phone that Wang Chuanxia's husband had already been arrested, I smiled slightly and said, "Don't worry, I have another surprise for you." Yu Chen lost too much blood and the rescue attempt failed. Wang Chuanxia, in a frenzy, tried to grab me, but the wounds from her earlier struggle with Yu Chen were still bleeding. Before she could reach me, the police had already handcuffed her. "You were already involved in child trafficking, and now you've committed murder. You won't be able to escape for the rest of your life." Wang Chuanxia killed her own biological son, and her mind was in a daze, unable to provide information about the abducted child. I also went to the police station to see if I could compare with previously missing children. Unexpectedly, it was Momo who came to pick me up. Her parents are often busy, also searching everywhere for their eldest daughter. I felt my mother's warm embrace for the first time and couldn't help but shed tears. Wang Chuanxia and her husband have been sentenced to death, and as I held my sister's hand, we also welcomed a new dawn. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My mother always says I am the most disappointing daughter. The eldest daughter is in Shanghai, the youngest in Shenzhen, and I'm the one who stayed in the county town, always right under her nose. She said it so often that all the neighbors knew. The Gu family had a good-for-nothing second daughter, but she seemed to forget that 10 years ago, she broke her back. Her daughters in far-off Shanghai and Shenzhen only told her over the phone to drink more hot water and take good care of herself. Then he said he was too busy with work and couldn't take time off. Only I, the useless second daughter, quit the job I had worked so hard to find. I stayed by her bedside, taking care of her every need, cleaning up after her, bathing her, and feeding her, for a full 10 months. Later, after she recovered, she still said the same thing to everyone. The eldest and the youngest are both promising, but the second one, well, just a so-so. Later, she fell down the stairs and broke her leg again. The eldest sister said, "Second sister, I can't get away, so you go back and take care of mom." The youngest sister said, "Sister, you understand mom best. Thank you for your hard work." I stared at my phone for a long time, then I replied to them, "This time, I also want to be a daughter who makes something of herself." On my mother's 60th birthday, our family set up 2 tables. She was wearing the red sweater bought by her eldest sister, sitting in the main seat, smiling from ear to ear. Relatives arrived one after another and gathered around my mother to sit down. As soon as third aunt entered the door, she spotted the sweater and went over to feel the fabric. "Wow, this sweater of yours looks anything but cheap." My mother's smile crinkled the corners of her eyes, her pride shining through, her tone brimming with boastfulness. "This was sent by my eldest daughter from Shanghai. It cost over 1,000 yuan. I told her not to buy something so expensive, but she wouldn't listen, saying I've worked hard all my life and deserve to wear something nice." My second aunt chimed in from the side. "The eldest is truly accomplished, having established herself in Shanghai, yet she still keeps you in her thoughts." My mom showed her wrist again, and my youngest daughter, "Look, she specially sent a gold bracelet from Shenzhen as a birthday gift." I said no, but she insisted on buying it. Several relatives gathered around to look at the bracelet, murmuring in admiration. "The youngest is also promising, in a place like Shenzhen. Only capable people can stay there." My mother smiled so much that her eyes narrowed into slits. "Exactly, both of them are promising, so I don't have to worry." I was pouring tea for the guests nearby, and when I heard this, the teapot in my hand paused for a moment before I continued pouring. Third aunt took a sip of tea and looked around. "How come I only see the second child busy? Where are your eldest and youngest daughter? Haven't they come back again?" My mother's smile faltered for a moment, a hint of awkwardness flashing across her face. She waved her hand, her voice dropping half a tone. "They're busy with work, and in a big city, it's not easy to take time off. It's the thought that counts, whether they come back or not. I don't mind." Second aunt nodded and didn't press further. I carried the teapot over to third aunt's side and refilled her cup. Third aunt looked up at me and suddenly said, "Second daughter is so thoughtful. Since your stomach is sensitive, she keeps coming to replace the tea in front of you with warm water. I've seen her do it 3 times already." Auntie, sitting nearby shelling peanuts, also looked up at me. "Eldest and youngest are out earning money, while second daughter stays home to take care of you. You're truly blessed in this life." My mother looked me up and down, then turned away. "Second child," she drew out her words and chuckled. "She only knows how to do these menial tasks. Serving tea, washing clothes, cooking, that's all she's good for, not like the eldest and the youngest, who are out there doing great things." My aunt was taken aback for a moment and said, "What's wrong with serving others? When you broke your leg those years, wasn't it her who took care of you? Anyone else would have run away long ago. For your big birthday celebration, these 2 large tables were all arranged by her second son alone, right?" My mother waved her hand, her tone light and airy. She deserved it. If I had any prospects, I wouldn't have come back to do these menial tasks like serving tea and water. The eldest and the youngest are different. They're in big cities, and the world they see is completely different. Standing there with the teapot in hand, I suddenly felt it was all quite pointless. This wasn't the first time my mom had said I was useless in front of relatives, too, that winter. It had been exactly 1 year since my father passed away. My mother had a fall and injured her back. The doctor said she would need to stay in bed for at least 6 months and would be completely unable to take care of herself. My eldest sister was in Shanghai. She called to say she had just changed jobs and couldn't take time off. My younger sister was in Shenzhen. She said she had just found a job and rented a place, and was afraid she would lose her job if she left. They said many heartwarming words over the phone. Mom, drink more hot water. Mom, take good care of yourself. Mom, I'll come back as soon as I have time. After hanging up the phone, my mother lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, and didn't speak for a long time. Only I spoke. Mom, I'll come back to take care of you. She was taken aback for a moment, a hint of surprise in her tone. What about your job? I said. I quit. At first, she was in so much pain that she couldn't sleep through the night. I went to every pharmacy in the county to buy pain relief patches and medicine to promote blood circulation and reduce swelling. Every night, I would soak a towel in hot water and apply it as a warm compress for her, change the towel when it cools down, change it when it cools down, and apply it for over an hour. One night, while I was applying the hot compress for her, my eldest sister called. As soon as my mom saw the caller ID, her eyes lit up. She propped herself up, cleared her throat, and then answered the call. Hey, boss, I was wringing out a towel nearby when I heard my sister's voice on the other end of the phone. Mom, is your back feeling any better? I've been so busy lately, I haven't had a chance to ask. Mom's face lit up with a smile, her wrinkles all bunched together. It's fine, I'm much better now. You all go about your business, don't worry about me. Your second brother is here. The eldest sister said a few more things, and Mom kept nodding. I know, just take good care of yourself. After hanging up the phone, Mom put down her cell phone and sighed. I placed the hot towel on her waist. The towel was still a bit hot when first applied, and she shifted impatiently, saying, if only your eldest sister were here. She tossed the hot towel disdainfully into the basin, her tone full of regret. She's more attentive, definitely better at taking care of you than you are. I didn't say a word. Silently fished out the towel, wrung it dry, let it cool a bit, and then applied it to her. Outside the window, a dog barked twice, then fell silent. After a while, I changed to a fresh towel and continued applying it. 3. My mom's back is feeling a bit better. She can sit up now. One afternoon, a package from my younger sister arrived. It was a box of nutritional supplements. She placed that box of supplements on the bedside table, looking at it every day, reluctant to eat them. A few days later, the cashmere sweater sent by my older sister also arrived. My mom asked me to take it out and show her, touching it over and over, saying, this fabric, you can't find it in the county town. I said, Mom, try it on and see if it fits, she said, carefully touching the clothes. Leave it for now. I'll wear it when it's ready. That night, I made her bone broth and brought it to her bedside. She took a sip and frowned. It's too salty. Then I'll put less salt in tomorrow. She put down her bowl and suddenly said, your eldest sister has been careful since she was little, never putting too much salt in her cooking. Your younger sister is the same, everything she does is just right. But you're always so clumsy. I stood beside her, holding the soup, and said, Mom, I'll be careful tomorrow. She ignored me, picked up the bowl again and took another sip. Still frowning, I took the soup out and stood in the kitchen for a while. The porridge for tomorrow morning was still simmering on the stove. I turned the flame to the lowest setting and watched the small flicker of fire, jumping and dancing. For, later, she was able to get out of bed and walk slowly, leaning against the wall for support. During that time, I lost over 10 pounds. I couldn't sleep well at night, and during the day, I didn't dare go far. Even a trip to the market had to be a quick run there and back. Neighbor Entley said to me, second girl, you need to take care of your health too. Don't wear yourself out. I said, it's fine, I'm young, I can handle it. One afternoon, when the sun was nice, I helped Mom out to the yard to get some sun. Sitting in her chair, she suddenly said with squinted eyes, your eldest sister said she's coming back for the new year at the end of the year. I wonder if it's cold over there. We need to prepare a thick quilt for her. I said okay. Your younger sister said she wants to eat sausage, so we need to make it in advance. I said okay. They'll only be back for a few days, so we have to make all the delicious food for them. I crouched beside her, massaging her legs without saying a word. After being bedridden for so long, her muscles had atrophied terribly. She glanced down at me and said, Quitting that job of yours was for the best. It didn't pay much anyway. When they come back, pay close attention and learn from them, see how they manage to get by. I stopped my hands and looked up at her. The sunlight shone on her face. She squinted her eyes, still smiling, thinking about how my eldest and youngest sisters would look when they returned. I felt uncomfortable and muttered a sentence. Mom, I've been taking care of you for almost a year. She didn't care at all, I know. What's wrong? I said it was nothing. I continued to massage my leg, just squatting there. I finished massaging her legs. I thought, it's almost time. Once my mother recovers, I'll go look for a job. 5. After my mother recovered, I packed my bags and prepared to go to the provincial capital. The tickets are already bought. The day I told my mom, she was sunbathing in the yard. Mom, I'm going to the provincial capital next week. A friend helped introduce me to a job. She looked up, glanced at me, and said nothing. After a long while, she suddenly clutched her waist and let out an ouch. I hurried over. What's wrong? My back hurts. Probably not fully recovered yet. She frowned. What am I supposed to do if you leave? I can't even go to the hospital alone without someone to support me. I said, then I'll go tell my friends that I'll leave a few days later. She waved her hand dismissively. What's the use of a few more days? I'll have to leave sooner or later. This is just my fate. And I can't count on you. I stood there, not knowing what to say. She let out another ouch, this time louder than before. I returned the ticket. Later, I found a clerical job in the county town with a monthly salary of $3,000. I cooked for her every day, kept her company, and massaged her when her back hurt. Just like that, 10 years have passed. She remains the same. She tells everyone how accomplished her eldest daughter is and how capable her youngest daughter is. When it comes to me, it's still the same old story, just a so-so, not much to brag about. 6. At the banquet celebrating my 60th birthday, video calls from my eldest sister and youngest sister kept coming in one after another, pulling my thoughts back. My mother held a phone in each hand, beaming with joy. Eldest, look at this whole table of dishes, all your favorites. My youngest, I'm wearing the gold bracelet, wearing it every day. The two daughters said on the other side of the screen, Mom, eat more. Take good care of yourself, and we'll come see you as soon as we're done with our work. Mom nodded repeatedly. All right, you all have important matters to attend to. Don't worry about me. She wiped the corner of her eye, still smiling, watching the loving and harmonious scene between mother and daughter. I finally made up my mind, picked up my cup, and stood up. Mom, big sister, little sister, since everyone is here today, there's something I want to say. The eldest sister was about to put down her phone, but then raised it again. What is it? I want to go to the provincial capital and try my luck. The table suddenly fell silent. The eldest sister was the first to burst into laughter. Second brother, what kind of joke are you making? Little sister frowned. Sister, what can you do if you go? Can you keep up with the pace over there? I said. There will always be a job that suits me. Mom slammed her chopsticks on the table. Second child. She looked at me, her tone dripping with undisguised disdain. Are you drunk? I'm not drunk. If you weren't drunk, how could you say such a thing? She sneered. If you leave, who will take care of an old woman like me? I lowered my head. Mom, you're not so old yet that you absolutely need someone to take care of you. If it really comes to that, the three of us sisters can take turns looking after you. Upon hearing this, my mother's voice rose several notches. Do you have any idea how hard it is for your eldest sister and youngest sister in the big city? They've finally managed to establish themselves, and you want them to come back and wait on an old woman like me? The eldest sister interjected. Exactly, the airfare is so expensive for me to come back. My apartment in Shanghai is so small, it's not practical even if I bring Mom to live with me. The youngest sister also said, I just got promoted, there's no way I can get away. I said. What about me? I want to make something of myself too. Mom glanced at me, her eyes sweeping from top to bottom before looking away. What could you possibly achieve? You've never been as good as them since you were little, she said lightly. Mom, I've been taking care of you for 10 years. Do you think you've been wronged? Shouldn't children be filial to their parents? Ungrateful wretch. No one at the table spoke. The eldest sister tried to smooth things over from the other side of the screen. Oh, second sister was just saying that casually. How could she bear to leave? The youngest sister also laughed. Exactly, sister, don't make a fuss. So many years have already passed. My mother waved her hand as if shooing away a fly. All right, sit down and eat. Don't ruin everyone's mood. I stood still without moving. Mom, I'm serious. She raised her head, and that look was all too familiar to me. Impatience, disdain, and a touch of mockery, she tugged at the corner of her mouth. If you can make something of yourself, I'll fry fish for you with the palm of my hand. All these years, if you wanted to leave, you would have left long ago. Who's stopping you? I was stunned. My older sister laughed on the other side of the screen. Mom, why are you teasing her? Where would she even go? The younger sister also laughed. Exactly, we all know you're filial, sis, don't make a fuss. The relatives joined in the laughter. Second brother was just saying it. She is the most filial. How could she bear to leave? Just kidding. Just kidding. Laughter rippled out in waves. I stood there, holding that glass of wine, listening to all that laughter. Mom picked up her chopsticks, took a bite of food, and spoke to the screen. Eldest. Is it cold over there? Wear more clothes. No one looked at me anymore. I put down that glass of wine and slowly sat down. Sitting down, I remembered that winter 10 years ago. I was alone in the hospital corridor, waiting for surgery. The nurse asked me, "Where is your sister?" I said, "They're busy." The nurse said, "Can you handle it alone?" I said, "I can handle it." Back then, I thought that enduring everything was a way of being filial. Now I understand. Enduring everything is just asking for it. 7. Right after my birthday, my mom immediately started arranging blind dates for me. She said that once you're married, your heart settles down, you won't be clamoring to go out anymore. At first, I thought she was just saying it casually, until she brought a man home. The man was in his early 40s, bald, with a protruding belly. When he sat down, the sofa sank noticeably. He spoke with a strong smell of alcohol, his eyes darting around me. My mother stood by, forcing a smile. "This is old wine. A truck driver, he owns a house." I knew this man, I whispered to my mom, pulling her aside. "Mom, he's been married before." Mom shot me a look. "So what? A man who's been married knows how to cherish his wife, but he beat his wife and drove her away." I said to my mother, "Do you know why he left?" The man heard it and answered indifferently, "That woman doesn't know how to live properly, always arguing, asking for a beating." I went to talk to her that night. "Mom, I don't want to see that person again." She was folding clothes, not even looking up. "What's wrong? He's got good qualifications, he's an alcoholic, and he beats his wife. He's the one who beat his wife blind." Mom's hands paused for a moment, then continued folding. "That's all in the past. Men, once they get married, they settle down." "I don't want to." She looked up at me. Once again, he looked her over from head to toe, then turned away. "What makes you think you're so great? You have poor conditions and are getting older, so what are you being picky about?" I froze, unable to believe it. She threw the clothes onto the bed, earning 2,000 or 3,000 a month, with no house or car, and over 30. "What are you being so picky about? It's already good that old wine doesn't mind you." I can't speak, my heart feels heavy. She continued, "He has a house, a proper job, so what if he's been married before? What kind of person are you still looking for? Someone like your eldest sister's husband. Do you think someone like that would even look at you?" I think back to that winter 10 years ago. She injured her back, and I quit my job to come back and take care of her. At that time, I had a boyfriend, and we had been together for 3 years, planning to get married. He had a good job in the provincial capital and said he would wait for me to return. I originally worked at the same company. I thought we both had a bright future ahead. After waiting for 10 months, he was getting a bit anxious. He was sulking with me over the phone. "Your mom has 3 daughters. Why are you the only one carrying the burden? When will it ever end?" I felt somewhat helpless and tried to persuade him patiently. "Wait a bit longer. I'll go back when she's fully recovered." "You say that every time." Later, he got married, and the bride wasn't me. I told my mom about it. By then, she had almost fully recovered, she said with indifference. "Break up then, you must think you're useless." That night, I cried alone the whole night. Now she wants me to marry a divorced man who drinks and beats his wife. I stood there, watching her. She had already lowered her head and continued folding the clothes. I turned around and walked out the door. By the time I reached the end of the alley, it was dark. The streetlight flickered on and off, much like the days I've lived through these years. 8. That night, I couldn't sleep, so I got up to get some water. As I walked past my mother's room, I heard her on the phone. "Don't be scared, my dear. I've asked around, and cervical erosion isn't a big deal. I'm just worried that if we delay, it might affect your ability to have children in the future, and that won't do. I had someone do a fortune telling, and they said we need to hold a happy event at home to ward off the bad luck, and your illness will be cured. There won't be any after effects." I stood at the doorway, holding a water glass in my hand. "Your mom has found a match for your second sister. The conditions are decent, and if the wedding happens quickly, it could be held next month. Once your second sister's happy event wards off the bad luck, your illness will definitely be fine. After that, you can have children as planned." Mom's voice inside the room continued, lowered, with a laugh. "Cervical erosion. Is that even considered an illness? Have me marry that alcoholic who beats his wife to bring good luck." I suddenly felt the world spinning around me. The water glass slipped from my hand, and I fainted. 9. When I woke up, it was the next day, and my mother was sitting by the bed, awake. She handed me a bowl of brown sugar water. I drank it. "You have low blood sugar." I didn't take it. "The one from the blind date." I looked at the ceiling. "I won't marry him." Mom's expression changed slightly, then she forced a smile. What nonsense are you talking? Old Wang is a good man. I heard everything. I turned my head to look at her. You called my little sister and said you wanted to use me to ward off bad luck. Mom's smile froze. I'm not getting married. After a few seconds of silence, then Mom's face darkened. The bride price has been accepted. How is that possible? It's only been a few days. I hurriedly sat up from the bed, looking at her. My mother turned her face away, avoiding my eyes, and said, "He took a liking to you and gave me the bride price the very same day. Mom, you should give it back. This is like selling your daughter. I can't return it. Why can't you return it?" Mom looked away, staring at the corner of the wall. "The money is gone." My heart sank a little. "Where did it go?" She didn't say a word. "Mom, I'm asking you where the money went." She suddenly looked up, her voice rising. "Your eldest sister is getting engaged. The man's family is well off, and it's her good fortune that they think highly of her, but your eldest sister called back and said that it's best for a single woman to have her own house before marriage, otherwise she'll be looked down upon by her in-laws after getting married." I listened to her words, digesting them bit by bit. "So you used my bride price to buy a house for my eldest sister?" Mom didn't look at me, speaking with righteous confidence. "Your eldest sister finally found such a good family. We can't let it fall apart because of this." I opened my mouth, unable to speak. "Besides," my mom glanced at me, "if you marry Lao Wang, his family has a house, so it's not like you're lacking a place to live. Your older sister is different. She's in Shanghai. How can she manage without a house? And you're in the county town, so you can rely on the family for support. Your older sister is out there on her own, struggling. It's not easy for her." The street lights outside the window were still on. A dim, yellowish light streamed in, falling on my mother's face. I smiled. Her smile was a bit unsettling. My mother, looking embarrassed, dropped to drink the brown sugar water and left. I lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. I got married to bring good luck to my younger sister. My bride price was used to buy a house for my older sister, and my own life, no one cared about. The room was dark. I opened my eyes and stared into that darkness. That very night, I packed my things and left under the cover of darkness. This time, I was determined to become a daughter who would make something of herself. 10. I arrived in the provincial capital and temporarily stayed at a friend's house. She was divorced, raising her child alone. Her house wasn't big, but she carefully made the sofa soft for me. During the day, while she was at work, I helped her pick up and drop off her child, clean the house, and cook meals. In the evening, when she returned, we would chat briefly. The days were quiet and steady. On the third day, for dinner, I steamed a basket of pork and cabbage buns. The dough was perfectly risen, with thin wrappers and generous fillings, served steaming hot to the table. Her son ate 4 in one go, raising his greasy little hands and shouting with his head tilted back, "Auntie, I want more." Her friend teased with a laugh, "You usually make such a fuss about eating, but today you're being so cooperative." The little one's mouth was stuffed full, mumbling indistinctly yet with unusual seriousness, "It's even better than the ones sold outside." My friend and I exchanged a glance, and suddenly, our hearts felt a little brighter. Maybe I should get a breakfast cart and sell steamed buns. The next day, I went and bought a used breakfast cart. Early on the third day, I tried steaming my first batch. As soon as I lifted the lid, my friend's son rushed in, grabbed one, and took a big bite. "Auntie, this is so delicious." My friend also picked one up, slowly finished it, looked at me, and gave a slight nod. "Let's open for business, Boss Gunan." On the first day of setting up the stall, I was a bit nervous, repeatedly arranging the steamers to make sure they looked neat and tidy. I didn't dare to look up and call out my wares, until, in the morning light, someone stopped in front of the cart. "Boss, how much for the buns?" I looked up. It was an elderly auntie. "2 yuan, give me 2. I handed over the buns, and she took a bite, her eyes lighting up. "The filling is generous, and the dough is soft, much better than the others." In one sentence, it was like giving me a boost. Later, as we got to know each other better, more and more regular customers started coming. Early shift workers would grab 2 in a hurry and leave. Parents dropping their kids off at school would also make a special detour to buy some. Even the workers from the nearby construction site often come to get takeout. They say, "Your buns taste like homemade ones." I get up before dawn every day to knead the dough and prepare the filling, standing until my legs ached. But as soon as I lifted the steamer lid, watching the white steam billow upward and the aroma drift out, my heart felt completely at ease. The money wasn't much, but every penny was earned by my own hands. Life was lived with warmth and vitality. 11. My mother noticed I had left, but she didn't make a big deal of it. She said to my eldest sister and younger sister in a light tone. When the second child was young, she also ran away from home. She came back crying on her own after a couple of days. The next day, she sent me a WeChat message. "Did you really leave? Stop messing around. Come back tomorrow." Old Wang is still waiting to try on the suit. I didn't reply. A week later, she sent another message. My back is hurting again. You need to come back. Going out just wastes money. I was kneading dough, my hands covered in flour, and had no time to deal with her. 2 more days passed, and I thought she had finally calmed down. As a result, she directly posted a marriage announcement in the family group chat. It was arranged by her for me and Old Wang. She specifically tagged me. The wedding dress has been ordered for you, size medium, so you can still wear it even if you gain weight. I stared at the wedding announcement in the family group chat, my finger hovering over the screen for a long time. I slowly typed out a message. Mom, please return the dress. I won't be getting married, and I won't be coming back. She immediately added me, her tone as unyielding as ever. Old Wang's conditions aren't bad. Don't be ungrateful. I took a deep breath and typed out each word carefully. I'm not going back. I stopped typing and silently switched my phone to silent mode. The next second, the group chat exploded. My mom sent a series of voice messages. My eldest sister and younger sister followed up in the group chat, trying to persuade and comfort her. They all said that I was just confused for a moment, that I wouldn't really ignore everything, and that once I calmed down, I would naturally go back. My phone, tucked in my pocket, kept buzzing with vibrations, all the commotion from home. I looked down at the dough on the cutting board, smooth and glossy, white and heavy. No, I hear customers praise my steamed buns every day. No one whispers in my ear anymore that I'm hopeless. I really like this kind of life. This time, no one can wait for me to come back. 12. On the wedding day, I didn't show up. The relatives filled the room. The gifts were collected. The banquet was set. But the bride was nowhere to be seen. My mother was utterly humiliated in front of everyone, cursing into the phone over and over again, with harsh words that stabbed straight into my heart. She had people looking for me everywhere, and eventually she found out I was selling steamed buns. I heard you're selling steamed buns. How much can you make in a month? 1,000, 2,000, useless thing, embarrassing yourself. She still had that resolute look as she tried to persuade me. What can you even do with that little money? Come back and be someone's wife. No need to go out and work hard for a living. Isn't it nice to have someone take care of you? I only replied softly, no, thank you. The phone rings. It was my mom calling. You heartless thing, I've raised you for over 30 years for nothing. Mom, if I'm heartless, how could I have taken care of you for 10 years? There was silence on the other end of the phone. After a long pause, her voice sounded a bit weak. If you don't come back, what am I supposed to do? I continued speaking. Big sister and little sister are more accomplished than I am. They should also fulfill their filial duties. Then I hung up. She finally panicked. She realized for the first time the daughter she had watched grow up and had always been able to manage was truly never coming back. That early morning, as usual, I kneaded the dough, lit the fire, and steamed the buns. White steam rose from the steamer, filling the entire street with its fragrance. 13. The bun stall's business was getting better and better. At first, it was just 1 or 2 regular customers, then it became 3 or 5, and later, even before setting up the stall in the morning, people would already be waiting at the intersection. Boss lady, do you still have the cabbage filling today? My daughter loves yours the most. Save 10 for me. My colleagues at work all say they're great, so they asked me to buy some for them. Can I place an order in advance? I come to buy every day, but sometimes when I'm late, they're already sold out. After returning home, I pulled out my account book and calculated this month's income. After deducting costs, the net profit was $8,600. This is much better than working in the county town. I started thinking about renting a storefront. Not too big, 10 square meters is enough, just enough to fit 2 tables and a dough kneading board. No need to push a cart out to set up a stall every day, no need to dodge city inspectors, and business can still run on rainy days. After looking for 2 weeks, I found a small shop facing the street. After paying the rent, there was just over $20,000 left in the card. I stood in the empty shop, looking at the mottled putty on the wall, and suddenly felt like laughing. I have my own shop now. 14. That night, while I was painting the wall, my phone rang. It was my eldest sister. I hesitated for a moment but still answered. Second brother, something's happened. Why? Old Wang wants to call off the engagement. I paused. Let him call it off. It's none of my business. The elder sister lowered her voice. He wants the betrothal gifts back. The brush in my hand stopped, then give them back to him. The other end of the phone went silent, then was abruptly snatched away. It was my mom, frantic and shrill. The money went to your sister for her house. Now they're asking for it back, and we can't come up with it. I stared at the half-dry wall. So what? So you come back? My mother shouted anxiously. Marry him. And the betrothal gift won't have to be returned, he said, as long as you come back. This matter will be over. You took the betrothal gift meant for me to buy a house for my eldest sister. Did you ever ask me, isn't that for an urgent need? Your sister is getting engaged, and without a house, her in-laws will look down on her. So what? I continued to retort. She was taken aback for a moment. What do you mean? Shouldn't the money that the eldest sister took be repaid by her? Mom immediately shouted. Where would she get the money? It's all been used for the down payment. How is she supposed to pay it back? I calmly retorted. Then I should be the one to pay it back. Just get married. You don't even have to pay. Just show up. I suddenly laughed. A cold, bitter laugh. Whoever took the bride price, let them pay it back. I hung up the phone. The putty on the wall was still wet. This time, I will no longer sacrifice my life for anyone. 15. My eldest sister stubbornly refused to return the money. In the end, my mother had no choice but to sell the old house in the county town to repay the bride price. With the house gone, she could only rent a small single room outside. On moving day, she sat among a pile of cardboard boxes and called her eldest sister, Big Sis, Mom needs to pay a deposit for renting a place, and I'm short on cash. Can you transfer some over? The eldest sister said. Mom, I just finished paying off my mortgage. And I don't have any money either. How about this? I'll transfer 500, and you can use that for now. Mom was taken aback for a moment. 500, if it's not enough, I'll figure something out. But this month is really tight. After hanging up, Mom called my younger sister. My younger sister said, Mom, I just paid my rent, and I still have credit card debt. I'll transfer 500. You can use it for emergencies. Mom held her phone, silent for a long time. Her two most beloved daughters each transferred 500. Even the 1,500 deposit wasn't enough. She sat in the room for a long time before finally dialing my number. Second brother. Her voice sounded a bit weak. Your steamed bun business is doing pretty well, right? Transfer me 2,000. I didn't say much and transferred 500 over. She immediately exploded. 500. You transferred 500. You used to give me 2,000 out of your 3,000 monthly salary. Now that you're running a business, you only give me 500. I listened to her voice, calm and unhurried. Mom, before when I gave you 2,000, you said I was useless. She choked up. I'll give as much as they do. There was silence on the other end of the phone. She fell silent for a few seconds, her voice suddenly trembling. Gunan, you've changed. I softly hummed in agreement. Yes, I have changed. To be a promising daughter, of course, one must make changes. 16. Without me, the first day was already in chaos. Before, when she was at home, she never had to lift a finger. The kitchen always had hot meals ready, her water glass was always filled with warm water, and the floor was always polished to a shine. All she had to do was sit, wait, and give orders, and I would bring everything to her. Now, pushing open the door of the rental house, there are only cold pots and stoves, a dead silence. She wanted to change into clothes to go out, opened the closet, and found the clothes crumpled into a mess. She stood there, motionless for a long time. It wasn't until her fingertips touched the crumpled collar that she suddenly remembered. I used to iron her clothes for her every day in advance. She clumsily washed the rice and lit the fire to cook porridge. Too much water made it as thin as clear soup. The fire was too strong, and the bottom of the pot burned directly. The smell of burnt bitterness filled the room, and as she scooped a spoonful, it was so astringent she couldn't swallow. At that moment, she remembered the porridge I used to make, soft, fragrant, and just the right temperature. For all those years she had eaten it, she never once thought it was precious. Sometimes when her back pain flared up, her whole body would stiffen on the floor, and she'd slowly slide down. Leaning against the wall, no one reached up to help her, no one massaged her back or rubbed her waist. The empty room was eerily quiet, making even her gasps for breath sound piercingly loud. She didn't go to work, and the days stretched on endlessly, feeling as if they would never end. When I was around, no matter how dull things were, there was always someone to listen to her ramblings, complaints, and gossip. Now the eldest sister is busy with her own life, and the youngest sister only cares about her own happiness. When I called, the phone was hurriedly hung up after just a few words. In her rented room, it was so quiet that she could hear the clock ticking, each beat striking her heart. Regret slowly crept in, making her feel suffocated and anxious. The second daughter she looked down on the most, the one she considered a failure, seems to be the only one who genuinely cared for her, staying by her side without leaving for 10 years, and she, with her own hands, lost me. 17. Later, she started asking relatives to persuade me. Aunt, second aunt, cousin's wife, Nan, your mother is getting old, just give in and come home. Family members, there's no real falling out. It's so hard for a girl like you to sell buns outside. Going home is the right path. I held my hand still covered in flour and listened quietly. I only replied softly, I'm not going back. The relative grew anxious. Why are you so stubborn? Your mother already regrets it. My voice was calm, yet each word was deliberate. Her regrets are hers. I live my own life. The other person tried to persuade me again. Aren't you afraid others will say you're unfilial? I smiled faintly. In the past, I was filial in every way, yet no one ever praised me. No, I just want to live my own life well. They tried persuading me once, twice, 3 times. But seeing that I was as stubborn as a mule, they eventually gave up. The phone calls became fewer, the nagging stopped. She finally understood that this time, no one could change my mind. I am truly not going back anymore. 18. I still get up before dawn every day, kneading the dough, mixing the filling, lighting the fire, and steaming the buns. Every step is done with solid effort, cutting no corners. Regular customers eat with peace of mind, and new customers spread the word by word of mouth. Until one day, a food exploration blogger happened to walk in, filmed a video, and posted it. Overnight, the small steamed bun shop became a sensation. Some people made a special detour to get there, while others queued for half an hour just for a basket of hot steamed buns. Everyone says, the steamed buns here taste just like home. Business is getting better day by day, with the line stretching from the shop all the way to the end of the street. I'm so busy that my feet barely touch the ground, but my heart is filled with clarity. Before long, I had saved enough money and decisively opened a second branch. Standing at the entrance of the new shop, I looked at the bright and clean storefront and watched the continuous white steam rising from the steamers. I suddenly felt a bit dazed. I've made something of myself. 6 months later, I bought a house. Standing in the living room of my new home, sunlight streamed in through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Outside the window, the traffic is bustling, and the lights of countless homes are aglow. From now on, I have a shop, a home, food to eat, and hope to look forward to. The news was passed on by relatives, described vividly and in detail. They said my shop has lines stretching all the way to the roadside, packed to the brim every day. My house is over 100 square meters. It's huge, they said. Gunan has really made something of himself now. My mom was sitting in the cramped rental apartment at the time, staring at the cold porridge on the table, not moving for a long while. My eldest sister said with a hint of envy, wasn't it just good luck, catching the blogger's promotion? My younger sister chimed in agreement, exactly, maybe one day it won't work out. Only my mother remained silent for a long time. 19. 3 months later, my mother broke her leg. When the call came, the voice was weak. My leg is broken, I can't move. Second child, come back and see me. I held the phone, my voice calm and steady. Where are the eldest and youngest sisters? She paused, her tone helpless. Your eldest sister has to take care of her family and says she can't get away. Your youngest sister is busy with work and doesn't have time either. My tone was as flat as a bowl of cold water. Mom, I'm busier than they are. I really am busy. I've opened 3 more branches, dealing with daily accounts, overseeing the stores, and managing the staff. My days are packed full. Mom, take good care of yourself. Drink plenty of warm water. I won't be coming back. My mother was stunned, unable to process it for a long time. Second child, how have you become like this? I smiled softly, my tone calm. I did as you said. Didn't you always say I should learn more from my elder sister and younger sister? Now, as she wished, learn to be a bit more selfish like them, think more about yourself, and stop always revolving around the elderly. Only then can you achieve something. I paused for a moment, gazing at my own sign, and whispered softly, I followed your advice. Now, I've truly achieved much more than I ever did in that small county town. 20. My eldest sister and younger sister had no choice. They couldn't stand up to the gossip from the relatives. I had to grit my teeth and go back to take care of her for a few days, but they had been spoiled by my mother since childhood and had never taken care of a patient before. They found feeding her dirty, massaging her tiring, and got annoyed when called at night. Within a few days, both of them found excuses and slipped away in disgrace. There was really no one to take care of my mother, so the 2 of them put their heads together and pooled their money to hire a nanny from the town. The nanny was also from the same town, straightforward in character but rough in her movements. With her leg broken and confined to bed, my mother's back quickly grew terribly sore, and she would habitually call out with a frown, "Come here. Give my back a rub, but be gentle." The nanny sat at the door picking vegetables, not even looking up. Massages extra. Your family only paid for food and care. My mother choked, unable to speak. In the past, all she had to do was hum softly, and I would immediately put down what I was doing, squat by the bed, and massage her for a long time. She went along with her, whether the touch was light or heavy. By evening, her throat was parched with thirst, and she called out in a hoarse voice. The room was quiet, with no one answering. The nanny had already gone home after work. In the pitch-black room, she had to support her broken leg herself, inching her way toward the nightstand, each movement causing so much pain that cold sweat broke out. In the past, during times like this, I would always tiptoe in and hand her a glass of water at just the right temperature. She was becoming more and more demanding. She would scold if the food was cold, complain if the bed wasn't made neatly, and find fault with the caregiver no matter what. Can't help but mutter as soon as I opened my mouth. When my second daughter was here, she was much more attentive than you, always thinking of everything. The nanny had heard it too many times, and that day she threw down the rag and sneered. Everyone knows that your second daughter is the one you look down on the most. She served you for so many years, and in the end, you sold her out to buy a house for your eldest daughter, constantly saying she was useless. Now you realize how good she was. It's too late. She's now running a shop, buying a house, and being her own boss. Why should she come back and put up with your nonsense? If you ask me, you deserve it. My mother lay in bed, so angry she couldn't utter a word. Her face alternating between pale and flushed. The room was eerily quiet, with only the clock on the wall ticking away. Tick-tock, tick-tock. No one was at her beck and call anymore. No one treated her temper like a royal decree anymore. No one endures grievances anymore. Taking care of her with meticulous attention, she shed tears, murmuring to the empty room, "It was my fault, Mom, but I couldn't hear it. I don't want to hear it anymore." 21. My mother is lame, after breaking her leg. She didn't take good care of it. The bone healed, but it didn't set properly, leaving her with a chronic condition. One day, she limped to the door of my shop, her hands red from the cold. Seeing me come out, she held up the sausages she had made herself, trembling as she offered them to me, trying to please me yet cautious. "You loved these when you were little, so I made some for you." In the past, she only made these sausages for my eldest and youngest sisters, hanging them in the most ventilated spot on the balcony, ready for them to take as soon as they came home. I never even got a taste. No, she limped through the crowd and handed it to me. I took it calmly, said thank you, and nothing more. She began sending things through others every now and then, home-pickled vegetables, sun-dried goods, freshly steamed buns. Each one was something that used to be sent only to the elder and younger sisters. She started saving up free-range eggs, collecting them for nearly half a month, and carefully brought them over in a basket. "These are for you to nourish your body. They're more nutritious than store-bought ones." In those years, all the eggs at home were given to the elder and younger sisters. Just before the new year, she took the initiative to call. "This year, come home for the new year." "Okay, I saved your favorite dishes, and I especially had the quilt refurbished. It's thick and warm." I stood in the shop, my voice calm. "I have to do store inspections during the new year, so I won't be going back." She froze on the other end of the phone for a long time, then softly uttered an "oh," feeling somewhat wronged, yet no longer daring to accuse as she once did. I didn't offer any more comfort, nor did I soften. All the favoritism she had never shown me in half a lifetime was now being piled on me all at once, but I no longer needed it. 22. Later, the eldest and youngest sisters did not give the money on time. She lost her source of income and struggled to make ends meet. With no other options, she dug out the sweater her eldest sister had given her years ago, had someone take photos, and posted them online in hopes of earning some money. It was returned within a few days, with a straightforward message: "Fake goods, cheap knockoffs from underground malls." She clutched the pilled sweater, her hands trembling, still unwilling to give up. She dug out the gold bracelet her younger sister had given her and limped to the gold shop, hoping to sell it. The boss burned it with a fire, and it was fake. She couldn't hold back on the spot and crouched down crying at the entrance of the gold shop. After that day, my mother's mental state began to deteriorate. She would pull out her phone to show my photos to anyone she met and praise me. "This is my second daughter, the most accomplished and filial." 23. The nanny found her picky and difficult to serve, and left after a short while. Neither the eldest sister nor the youngest sister was willing to take her home, so they pooled some money and sent her to a nursing home together. Life in the nursing home was austere and lonely. Every time she sat down to eat, holding her bowl, she would always murmur to the elderly woman sharing the room, "I have a second daughter, Gunan, the most accomplished and the most filial. The pork rib soup she makes is so tender it falls off the bone, and the broth is so delicious you could drink 2 bowls. It's nothing like this bland food." As she spoke, she poked at the vegetables in her bowl with her chopsticks, her eyes filled with loneliness. At night, when she touched the damp corner of the quilt, she couldn't help but scold the caregiver. "What's wrong with you? You don't even air the quilt." When my second daughter was here, she aired it every day, making it fragrant, soft, and warm to sleep under. The caregiver couldn't be bothered to respond and simply walked away, leaving her alone to sigh over the cold quilt. She would tell everyone how good I was, saying I had opened a nationwide chain and how I had taken care of her for those 10 years. I still strive to be the accomplished daughter she always hoped for. During holidays, I send clothes, nutritional supplements, and food to the nursing home. I never go to see her, I only occasionally answer her calls. Until one day, I received a message from the nursing home. My mother has passed away, kept muttering about it until the very end. My second daughter is the most accomplished and the most filial. I held my phone and remained silent for a long time, thinking back many years ago, to that little girl who revolved around her, carefully trying to please her. In the end, she still said sorry. It's just that this apology came too late. Too late for me to need it anymore. My life has long since moved far ahead. All those regrets and grievances from the past were completely put to rest with her departure. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.